Get ready to master your life and achieve your dreams with Lifestyle Mastery, the show that will transform the way you think about personal development, business, and entrepreneurship, and explores the fascinating world of self-improvement with the guidance of the renowned expert, Dr. Sheila Smith. From mastering your mindset to building a successful business, Dr. Smith and her guests will inspire, educate, and empower you to live your best life.
Welcome to Lifestyle Mastery. My name is Dr. Sheila Smith, and today I have the honor of welcoming Colin Drummond. He is, and let me put my glasses on because I want to make sure I get this right. He is a former Washington Bureau Chief for TMZ, two-time Emmy Nominated producer, media consultant, brand expert, celebrity journalist, media professional, attention specialist. And what his goal is to help companies become discoverable with strategies to enhance their brand or create their brand. I am so beyond excited because he is someone I've been listening to for 2 years now on the social audio app called Clubhouse. And I'm excited to bring him to meet you. So I'm going to bring him on up to the platform. Mr. Drummond, it is an honor.
Thank you, Dr. Sheila, for having me. And, it's an honor to be here with you, and just, wanting you to have me means a lot.
I appreciate that. And you are so valuable because you drop so many nuggets when we're sitting in John Lee's room. When John Lee departs and you come on, you bring the same level of expertise to the audience. And so I wanted you to teach some of the people what creating a brand looks like, why brand awareness, and I'm going to get to other questions, but why brand awareness is so important to people that are creating new businesses, or even to people that have been in business for a long time.
That's a good question, because the thing, and this is something I had to learn, throughout the years, and especially during the pandemic, when we started seeing, so many people were getting laid off, companies were doing bad, but the ones that were succeeding is the ones that had name recognition. Because when you have name recognition, it's like you're still that authority in that field, in any industry you're in. And this is why sometimes you look at some of these big like stadiums and arenas, and you wonder why like AT&T is spending, 24 million just to put their name up on there. This is because you always have to be top of mind. So it doesn't matter whether you're at a certain level or you're just starting out. It's just so important to always build your brand up and let people know exactly what you stand for. If you're a dentist and, somebody's having a problem with something, they want to know, I can specifically go to this person. You look at the science guy. This guy has not, Bill Nye, the science guy. We all know his name, and he labeled himself the science guy. He's no smarter than any other scientist, but I tell you, he gets 10 times the business as other scientists that are probably way smarter than him. But he understood what it meant to brand himself. And just think about it. That's a boring industry, but he stood out among everyone else. So that's why it's so important when branding yourself and thinking that you always want to be top of mind when somebody thinks of anything in that industry that you represent.
That is so awesome. And I always wondered why McDonald's, as well known as they are, you would still see commercials, still even to today, and they've sold billions of hamburgers.
Yeah.
Why?
Because they understand the importance of the next generation, and to still keep people. They want you to understand that jingle. They want you to understand when you come in there, you already know already what you're ordering, because they give you that image of a strawberry shake before you purchase it. So you already know what it tastes like, what it looks like, and everything. All you have to do is go up there and ask for it, versus you going and looking at the counter and start, so those things are so important what big companies do. And sometimes just branding yourself allows you to, once you're already established now, this helps you bring in more people, and it creates that more awareness, because you never want to stop, even when you get to a certain level, you don't want to just start turning it down, because this is how you fall off. Instead of, you got to keep pounding it in. Every time you're talking about what you do, what you represent, are there more people that you should meet? And you want to get your name out into the areas that, someone who doesn't know you, because I can tell you 30 or 40 billionaires you probably never heard of. And the thing about it, they haven't understood that they can be even bigger, or sometimes some people don't want to be at that level. But I tell you a funny thing. If you notice, all of a sudden, Jeff Bezos started becoming in the news more, because he saw what Elon Musk has done over the last 2-3 years with branding his name, with associating anything he touched, not just Tesla and any other project now. People will pour into money just because of his name now, and they know how successful he is. So it helps people not just purchase something that you have, but you have backers that believe in you, and that name recognition means a whole lot. And that's why you start seeing Jeff Bezos, all of a sudden he's doing posts, he's being photographed, he's going out in these places, and he's letting people see, I am the founder of Amazon. I am this billionaire, and not being shy about it. And what it does, it helps him create more business, and it lets people know who he is, so they're ready to invest in more projects that he has.
I'm glad you brought that up, because you are someone that has the expertise and would know about this firsthand. You have interviewed Oprah on several occasions. How did you segue into being able to be the one to do that?
That's always, and like I love, like in any business, I always say the relationships are just as important as the work itself. And the reason, like when you build relationships with individuals, and sometimes it doesn't have to be at that super high level, but seeing people on the way up, and being able to, how can you serve them? How can you support them in anything that they're doing? They'll remember that. And then, when you have like something, if you're someone who, like, there's been times like I've interviewed her, and then afterwards, like when the cameras are off and, things off the record, I've been able to ask her and talk to her. And, I've never been afraid to like have people tell me no. And I think if you want to grow in anything that you're doing, you have to be one of those people that, like, you want to be inquisitive. You want to be someone who's going to, ask what's next, or how can you do this, or how do I get to this level, or who do you think I should meet? And those are something that's powerful, because
wow,
it pulls off a light bulb in their mind and says, oh, you know what? You'll be a perfect person for this. Or sometimes I say, I don't know, but I may get back with you. And I've had it where people have gotten back with me. So, with Oprah, I've always built that relationship with her. And, I've seen how she is, as, I've dealt with so many high-level celebrities, athletes, politicians, and sometimes you see them at a different, like, they're actually not like who they are on TV. And that's understandable. And then you see the ones who are really down to earth, and you're like, whew, I'm glad this person is exactly like how I see them every day. And she's actually one of those people.
Wow.
And yeah, as much as, she's a billionaire, she's approachable, she's the fans, but, she's still willing to talk and, meet new people and give good advice. And then the more you build those relationships with you always have to think of a way, especially if there's somebody that you want to meet and you want to become memorable in their mind. You always have to be clever in a way, especially if you're going to meet this person. You have to figure a way out, how am I going to stand out in this person's mind 4 months later, that when they see me again, they're going to know who I am. And, that's the part of making yourself, just not someone who's coming for information, or someone who's purchasing from that person or just in their, atmosphere at the moment. You have to figure out, how do I stand out among all these other people? And that's where being a creative comes in. And that's where understanding, what really works and, the things to do that's going to, move you forward in whatever business that you have.
What was the thing that you said to yourself, how do I make myself memorable when I'm about to interview this woman that the world knows?
This is one thing I learned about in journalism, and it was like not being afraid to ask the tough questions, but coming from a respectful, mindset, and just, I guess, leveraging it in the right way, where you frame the question around, where you put them in a position where they haven't heard that before. And you want to be different, because you got to remember, like, high-level people, they've been asked all types of questions. So if you can figure something that's going to stand out, you can stop them in their tracks. You can make them think. You can make them, and that's something that always, and I tell you one thing, where one of the questions that went everywhere, that when I was interviewing Oprah, and it was, one time I asked her, what is the certain amount of money people always ask you for?
Oh.
And she looked and she said, And sometimes people, especially people, don't like to be asked about money.
Right.
A lot of times, right?
Right.
She said, it's a good question. She said, I can't remember verbatim, but she said, when I was just starting out and making money, and people would always ask me for $500. She said that as I got bigger and I started doing TV shows and I was doing it, then they would ask me for $5,000. She said, now nobody asks me for less than $20,000. But it was a good exchange. It was just like, on point. And, it's something like that just, it's not the same run of the mill. So, and it doesn't happen to be just an interviewing someone. It has to do with anything that you're doing, whether you're going to meet somebody you don't want to do the same type of questions. Like if you're going for a job interview, you got to think of something like, how am I going to stand out without all the interview people that have been coming in front of, let's just say it's a head job at Geico or somewhere. And that's the part where, these things, you think before. And we always say sometimes a good question, brings out a good conversation.
Totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. What are some key steps in building strong brand identity from scratch?
I think number one, you have to be patient. And when I say be patient, it's not going to be, you can't think of making microwave money. You have to look, you have to prepare yourself for that. Like it's when an airplane has like a long landing, right? So they build out that way because it depends on the type of plane you have. Shorter plane, so if you want to have a long landing and you want to have a big jet, you have to create that longer space. And it's the same thing with like in your business and going down the road, say, I'm giving myself and I'm going to do this. These are the steps that I'm going to get to this. And you have to, if you give yourself 3 or 5 years, in your mind, you're saying 5 years. But if you push harder, there's something that could be achievable in 2 to 3 years. But you gave yourself that 5 years, where if it doesn't work right at that 2-3 year, I'm still pushing because I gave myself 5 years. So too many times, it's like, even when in social media, if you're posting and you don't get instant, engagement, and you don't get a bunch of followers right away, and your content isn't getting a bunch of views or doing anything, most people stop right away because they expected, after a month or something like that for posting every day or once every, all of a sudden they were going to get, 5,000 followers and X amount, and it doesn't work that way. And if you can mentally start thinking like you're not looking at the success to happen right away, and I think it starts coming. It's just like we always say, like, you get money comes to you when you don't really need it, but when you need it, it's hard to get. And it's the same thing with like high profile people. You know what happens? They don't, when they go in restaurants, half the time people pay for them, pay for their meal and send them over drinks and do all that stuff. They don't need it, you know, but it comes to them. But, you know, when we're working and we're trying to think of, you know, the immediate success, you know, it discourages some people. And then what happens is then you start looking over there for the next shiny object because you already put in your mind, this isn't working, and you didn't give yourself enough time. So that's always something I, you know, say really, you know, prepare, and then, you know, have a good strategy. And when I say a strategy, I'm always looking at, you know, stand on the shoulders of the giants of what they have done, and, you know, implement some of the steps, but throw your own sauce on it. Because it's like if you want to be a content creator and you want to grow your business and you want to, you know, because for me, and I'm really understanding social media from a perspective of like, your social media is another channel. You have to think of it as just distribution, right? So this is my house. LinkedIn is my house. TikTok is my summer vacation home. You know, Facebook is my Airbnb, and I got 4 of these Airbnbs. So there are all these places where you're funneling different things, and you're getting known, and you have assets in all of these places. So when you can start looking at that, and then you start growing, and the way how you grow is you have to think in the sense of the successful people. If I'm following someone and they're on TikTok and I like the style and they're in my industry, the first thing I'm going to do is go up into their search bar. I'm going to go onto their profile, and I'm going to look exactly how they started growing, right? And then I'm going to go all the way back to when they hit that point and see what made them take off. If they're a real estate agent, if they're a fashion designer, and it's going to show. Most people don't delete their posts. So you're going to start seeing what changed, right? And then I'm going to go up to what they're doing now. I'm going to go back there and see how much times they were posting in that beginning stage. So they were, because this is the difference, and this is what people don't realize. Beginning stages, somebody might have been posting 4 and 5 times a day. Now they might post 1 time a week, but they're at a different level. So you can't just look at the now, right? What I do for looking at the now is I look at what's successful now for them. And if they're framing something, and let's just say it's 12 seconds, and they have movement in the beginning, and then it's emotional at the end, I'm crafting my content just like that too, with my own twist to it. So, you know, it's modeling what's been successful and what the platforms are already pushing. Because this is the thing, and it doesn't matter. And this is for Instagram, this is for TikTok, this is for LinkedIn, this is for Facebook. All of them will do the same thing. They are only posting stuff that other people want to see. So you can't be the one who thinks that, you know, I'm going to be the original, someone who talks about bats, and all of a sudden I'm getting all these visitors, and, you know, no, it's not going to work. You know, that's 1 out of a million person that's going to happen for you. You have to see what's successful on there in your industry, and you just model what someone else is doing and then throw in your own twist to it. And I think you'll see it, and you'll be able to start really gaining and getting engagement and growing your brand, and, you know, and giving yourself that time to start being successful on there.
If you say nothing else, that right there was so powerful, to look back to see when they took off. So to watch in the beginning, I'm getting this for me now. I'm being greedy. I'm making sure I got this. So we're going back to see in the beginning what they were doing when they were slow. Then at that point, how long it took for them to plateau. And then we're looking to see what makes them successful, what topics they're talking about, and not creating the wheel or inventing the wheel all over again.
There you go. That's it. Yeah. And you'll see, like, if this works for them, right, you're going, you're tapping into someone else. And then another thing I'll do, I'll tell you, I go into their comments. I go into their comments and I look what people liked. I looked what they liked about that video. Boom. oh, you liked how so much color, how this thing was so colorful. And I see everybody's talking about the colors in there. What is my video going to be about? Colors. You see? And those are the little things that it means a lot, you know, and it is being and understanding what really works. And I think in any profession you look at, some of the most successful people that I've seen, the one thing I noted, you have to, if you want to grow, you have to really get in that space where, like, I'm going all in, I'm going super hard. Like, AI is taking off right now, and I'm going to immerse myself in this, and I'm just going to, put my head down, and I'm just going for these next 2 months. I don't even want to look up, and when you really get to that stage, you'll start seeing success come. You'll start believing in the stuff that you're doing. And if you have clients, especially, and this is the one thing I would say for people who are coaches, because, I have a lot of students, and the clients that I have, sometimes they teach a lot of different things. And the one thing, and I tell them, if you're lacking in your belief and your coaching ability, you're not going to grow. You can't charge those prices unless you believe exactly what you're doing. And when you start charging the high prices, the reason why you can charge those high prices is because you know you have to deliver, and you're going to give more and more and more. So if you don't have good content or good information, you're not going to want to charge a lot. But when you know your stuff works, they're going to be like, yeah, this is the reason why I'm charging this, because the value that you're going to get from it. And if you take these steps, because one thing I don't do, and I've always learned, like, I don't tell anybody this is what you should do. When I say this is what has worked for me, and I can only show from experience. I can only show as I've learned to grow on social media, as I've learned to be a businessman, and all the success or the pitfall. A lot of times I pay for other coaches. I pay to learn their mistakes, so I don't have to duplicate them. And this is how it's like, not just a shortcut to success. It's not having to make those same mistakes that other people have done. And, your growth and your progress to there becomes a lot more easier. And, it's not a lot of bumps, and it doesn't take that long to get to that place that you're trying to get to.
I'm so glad you brought up AI. This is a platform that is for people, not just for people, but most of the people are 40 and above. Yeah. And when they hear AI, it makes them nervous. A lot of even computers make them nervous, but to hear of this thing from the future that we heard about way in the, back in the day, now it's here. You got to embrace it, or you're going to get left behind. Can you talk a little bit about AI and why it's not something that we should be afraid of and that we should embrace?
And I'll say this, and honestly, like, I pray, I beg people to really look into AI. And the only reason why, this is a chance where this is a place where there's no gatekeepers. Everybody's an infant to it right now, right? This is where you're going to see young millionaires being made. You're going to start, just think of this as the internet being discovered today, right? And you just found out about the internet. You already know where the internet is at now, but you just finding out it's just starting today. This is where it's at, and what it's going to become. So just imagine if you had jumped on the internet right in its early stages and understood that people weren't going to be scared of putting their credit card on there in another couple of years. And, people were going to be taking Ubers and, all that stuff, right? AI, what it's going to really do when we say change the way, businesses are being done, the way hospitals are going to be giving out information, and, the way you're going to be able to help your church, help your community. And it's just not, sometimes we as business people can look at it as tools and in a way of, monetizing and, being able to grow the business and do it. But there's other sides to it. There's the emotional side of things. There's the sides of, how do I put my mom, who's 88 years old, and I get to, put all her stuff in order now by using AI to get her history and then show it to her and do all these things, where you would have never been able to do, and take advantage of the tools that are going to be in front of you. For a 12, and I have a 13-year-old niece that just the other day, she made $367 on Etsy by just creating. We went on there and we put together her emotional posts of like, and all we had to do was go in there and I used a different software that can tell what's selling at the moment. And then she just used exactly what they were doing and started. The first week she made $367. This week she made $489 already. And now this is a 13-year-old who didn't know anything about AI, but now she's showing her friends how to do it now. And it can teach kids, it can teach adults, it can teach elderly, just different things, but you have to embrace it. And the reason why, if you embrace it and then you see what's working, and then it gets to the point where now it's helping you, grow your business faster. For me, what I want to do, I want to get obsessed with it, because you're not going to, that window of it being infant right now and so many other people not in the game, this is when that advantage. If it's 5 people in the room and somebody wants to be discovered, it's easy to stand out. But when that same room comes around and there's 500 people in there, it gets a lot harder, because they're going to be a lot more smarter people than you, people with deeper pockets. And then that's when they have the advantage. So when you have the advantage now, this is when you take off. So I just beg people to really start learning, seeing what it is, playing with it. And don't worry about, and I'll say this, I've been in the media over 2 decades. I know when they want to spin a story. And when they spin a story, it's because it's politics involved. It's because you're starting to see they can't control it. The narrative isn't good. Or when they're putting stuff on the news, they want to shoot bad stories because that's what creates highlights and that's what people tune into. So I'll tell you, the same people that will talk about it, newscasters have been using it for years. When they read the prompters and all that stuff, it's been AI generated from the stories that they wrote out. They didn't sit there and handwrite those things and make it correct spelling and all the prompt. They've been using AI. The 1% have been using AI for over 15 years. We're just privy to it now. So that's why I say you have to take advantage of it and grow. That's all I was saying. It's there.
Wow. I'm not going to ask you what software that is. I'll wait until the end.
Okay.
Till it's over. I'll let them reach out to y10g.com for that. But what is your favorite, other than the one that you helped your niece with? What is your favorite AI tool?
About Mid-Journey right now, and it's still like it's the Bentley of the softwares, because what it can do, and I know what I want to do with it, as far as it's easy, because what you can do is, like, if I want to think about an image, right? If I want to create a vision of somebody wearing a hoodie and they have on a certain color and it's nighttime, I can just prompt, I can type all these things in there, and then I can get that actual figure in that image, what I want to come. If I want to put this person in Madison Square Garden cheering, I can do all of that with just my imagination, right? And I'm writing up and I'm making it better, and so now I'm creating types of image for the vision, whether it's a piece of content that I'm putting out, whether I have a client who's, I want to use that image to create their voice over something else. So it's going to be, you're taking the tools out of things that used to cost, maybe $10,000, $50,000 to do for a 2-minute clip that I can do in 10 minutes and make a 20-second commercial, So I know the advantage of, and I know for me, like, being able to create, especially whether it's during the elections times or whether it's, commercials for big brands, whether it's Nike, Lululemon, all these places, anybody can do it now. I can know how to get it in front of them. I can think from out the box, something that they're not used to seeing, that, you know, a 12-year-old can do, and you can build a team. So I just think Midjourney, I just think so many of the softwares right now are just, you know, I'll tell you too, people like Canva right now is even using the AI tools inside of it. You know, you got to think of like the planners, you know, all of these things are just like, it's incorporating it because they understand like this is how people are really going to take advantage, and it's going to affect every industry. And every industry, they're applying these things to make, you know, because right now we're still going through the process of most people understanding AI. But one thing I will say, and I was speaking to a gentleman today, and a thing that I swear, I just think like the opportunity for other people's guys in a halfway house, not a halfway house, I'll take me like, he was in a shelter. And I was on a call with him, and then he was saying, you know, I don't want you to think of me different, but, you know, I'm doing this call from a shelter. I said, no. I said, guess what? You're at an advantage right now. I said, you see this AI that you have right now? This way, the position that you're in now, you're going to get out of this place within a month. You know, if you really obsessed with this thing, you're going to be able to take yourself out of that position, rent you an apartment, and feel good about yourself, and not even have to look back at that because the opportunity is there. You know, all you have to do is want it. So for people who don't want to get up every morning for a 9 to 5 or want to spend more quality time with their family, you know, this is the opportunity. And I don't know if I told you this, Dr. Sheila, even for me, I've been with TMZ, and, you know, I make good money with them. I've been with them for over 17 years. And I left a couple of weeks ago because of AI, because I know when the opportunity is there, right? And the thing, what I've seen, you know, over the years with working with celebrities, I've noticed most people that do well and take off, right? But the timing has to be right. But you can't time anything. So when the momentum is happening, you have to know when to jump and go with it. And then you wait long, you wait wrong. So when it's happening, and you have to, you know, being an entrepreneur, you know, is spelled RISK. Everything is a risk at times. Nothing done easy is going to get good results. If you don't get uncomfortable in what you're doing, you don't get the success. Most successful people are always uncomfortable, because if they are comfortable, they don't feel good. And when you start getting that mindset, and you got to start knowing and believing in what you're going to do. And I know for me, all I have to do is be 3 or 4 steps ahead of everybody else, right? And in that time, because, you know, people pay for convenience. So it doesn't matter what you can tell them. I'm working on this AI for your business. And you probably say, well, they could do it themselves. But guess what? Most people don't want to. They don't want to be bothered with it. So they'll pay you for that convenience. And this is where you have to understand, I'm going to use this tool, and not just one person. I'm going to be able to work on 20 people because of this tool now. So my workload, instead of just making a salary off of one person, I could do 20 people. And this is these opportunities now.
You know, that is so powerful. You said something that reminded me of what I told someone earlier today. Don't be afraid to invest in self-development. Don't be afraid to invest in a coach. Mm-hmm. They know something. They are further down the road than we are.
Yeah.
Even by a few steps. What say you about taking the time to invest in someone, whether it's a brand coach, a life coach, a mentor? Do you see the value in that?
Absolutely. The one thing I think is so important with investing in a coach, right, is somebody who only you can see their way up ahead of, and they have experience. It's someone who also is going to hold you accountable too, because sometimes we can't hold ourselves accountable for a lot of things, because if we could take off the day and, you know, like, I don't feel like doing this and I'll catch up to it. But when you want to make somebody proud and you really want to show, like, you know, I'm you know, implementing the proper things, people see it and people pay more attention to you. And the reason why you do invest, and I'll say this, and I get sometimes kickback at this time, the more you invest in yourself with a higher coach, especially if you vetted that person and they are the right person for it, right? You do more, because you know you've invested your money. And if I invested $10,000 or $20,000, guess what? I'm just not sitting in like if I you know how many courses I bought for people and I never even logged into it. Yeah, it might have been $80. And I'm not saying like I don't want to give that away, but I do anyway because it wasn't a whole lot. But if I know if I pay a lot of money to somebody, I'm following those footprints and it better work because I'm doing everything you said. And if everything you said I did and it didn't work, you got an answer to that. You know, you gave me the formula and I followed the footsteps, man. You gave me the blueprint and I wanted to go, man. What's going on, coach? You know, but yeah, the ones I really think, you know, it really helps you. And sometimes you're gonna learn things that you didn't know until sometimes it could be verbiage. Sometimes it can be just a structure. It could be one important thing when you go into a meeting and you knew not to talk before somebody else quoted a price. You know, it's simple things that you don't know because you haven't been at a high level. You haven't been at a high level where a big deal was coming down and you had to just leave it even though they gave you the right price. But you don't know that if you took that price, they was going to cancel out on you because they knew you were thirsty for it. You know, where a seasoned person who's been there and done that before and lost the deal would tell you, no, tell them you'll come back because it's still not right. And, you know, then it comes back and then it works. You know, and these are the things we talk about experience, you know, and it's better to deal with people who've been there, done that, have had bad results from it. And then the ones that tell you like, you know, I failed at this or this didn't work or, you know, and if you have a coach who knows everything, something's wrong too, because the good coaches are going to tell you that's not my field, and you know that's not something I'm privy to. So I can find the right person for you that can answer that question, but for me, I don't know that, and it's okay because you only want them to get you from where you're trying to be at, and you can tell them ahead of time, and they'll know if they can work with you. And I think it's super important. And one thing else I would say about, you know, choosing the right coach, sometimes, and I think this is a bad thing, sometimes, you know, you can be scarred once by getting a bad mentor or coach or somebody you invested in, and you never want to do it again. And you shouldn't do that because it's just like in any relationship. If you have one bad relationship with, you know, your husband, your wife, your future boyfriend, girlfriend, you just don't stop. You know, you give other people a chance. And it's the same thing with coaching. It comes down to that because you do need it. And if you really want to grow, you can't grow alone. You can't figure out everything by yourself because what happens is instead of something taking you 2 years to get to a level, it's going to take you 10 years to get there. Just by not having one person that's going to shoot you up 8 notches. And that's the real of it.
I believe that you are that person that is going to help people get to those plateau and to those other notches. Can you talk a little bit about your program, what you have to show people how to brand themselves properly? Sure.
I think what like I said, I only do the things and show people what I've learned, what I've been in the field with. I've worked with high level people, whether it's celebrities, politicians, athletes, you know, YouTube stars. And I see how do you become discoverable? I see how do you stand out in a crowd? And, you know, what I teach, you know, with the clients that I work with, I kind of want to put them in their, you know, in their genius and let other people see, because, you know, for years, I've seen some of the people who aren't as talented as others and they get overlooked, you know, whether it's in the work field, whether it's in music, you know, whatever it is. And the one thing I've noticed that the reason why they're not being, you know, taken on and they don't have that big name like the other person and they're making all this X amount of dollars or to have the notoriety is because they skip certain steps. Everything is a sequence order to success. Some people get lucky and jump from the bottom to the top, but it doesn't happen. And most of those people don't last at the top. That's why you hear so many times about one-hit wonders or 20 minutes of fame. You know, it's a reason, and it's true. It's because they didn't get the proper structure. They didn't get that sequence order that they had to really understand. So, you know, the people I work with and the clients, I don't look for a one-off. And I tell in one-offs in my book, and how I look at it is that somebody, when we're going for a deal, we don't want to have a deal with sponsorships or anything like that. We look for partnerships. And it's the same thing now when I work with clients. I work with somebody that is going to be a long-term. We're going to all grow together. We're going to, be able to share deals. We're going to be able to structure you in positions to meet other people. And I think it becomes a family thing. And, the thing, when you see like VRPP agency, the V is for video, reporting, producing, and publishing. And publishing is the key to everything. But publishing, when you own publishing and you really understand what publishing is, that's where the money is. That is the key to all of it. And that's what I teach them. And that's what we go through. I have different levels of program, and I reach people at any level, whether they're a beginner or somebody who's high level and they're looking for that one thing to get over the hump. And then, I do a lot of one-on-ones. So, that's where I can reach people at where they want to be. And, the team that I work with, we're like really building out. And that's another reason why having to leave, corporate and, company who've let me, like I said, one thing I say, TMZ has been great to me. They let me grow. I've helped their brand. I've helped myself. And now, I have the different opportunities. And I think, I can see and work with people who were just like me that didn't really understand how to, jump up in the business and really how to build their brand and stand out and then scale at a different level. Because the one thing I would say about branding yourself, when you have a name, it's just like this. When people are choosing right now in Hollywood, right, they've always gone for name recognition in a way of how can this person, help this movie because they have X amount of fans or something like, and it's understandable because it's a business, right? And now we are all our own media companies. Everybody should be thinking of themselves as their own media company if you're in business, because you can at any time of day, you can get out there and make a public announcement. You can grow people to come together, and you build a community that's going to go out there and do certain things. You're going to start getting structured deals. And, and this is about building everybody's knowledge together and taking it to a different level. And that's what we've been doing, with the group that I'm working with, and just staying ready for start seeing some success and some stars come out of this.
I'm the nuggets that you have dropped today. This could literally be a book. You wouldn't happen to be having a book coming out anytime soon, would you?
I'm working on something now with a book. And, I always thought in a sense of like, I didn't really want to do a book because we were going to do some stuff with documentaries and, but I don't want to start doing too much.
Yeah.
Because, I really do feel like, at some point, like just the branding and growing and the things that I do know, what I've seen other people do, I really want to help people first so I can show like the immediate success stories from other people and not myself, because I already know where I'm going, and I don't say that in a boastful way or anything like that. I always said, this is the one thing I will say, this is for anybody who's really listening. When you see talented people, right, latch onto them. Even if they don't know who you are, you reach out to them, because those are the people who just need to be told how talented they are and just that encouragement. And then when you see them first, that relationships that you have with them later on, it's going to be valuable. And I'm not saying you're doing it for money or you're doing it just to be in their ecosystem. Sometimes there's a saying a lot of times where sometimes people don't see things in themselves that you can see in them, and that's going to help boost them. And it's just about understanding your worth and your value. If you don't know your value, you better believe other people know your value, and that's what you don't want. You don't want them to know your value more than you know it.
Well, I want to thank you, 10G. Oh, by the way, what does 10G stand for?
See, this is where this is the stuff about standing out, right? When you think of this is one thing I learned this from Michael Jackson a long time ago, right? When Michael Jackson was at his highest career, during that, the Thriller times and all that stuff. Remember, he used to have the silver glove, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know why? Remember, he had one silver glove, right? Do you know why?
No.
Because it was a conversation starter. People would ask him, why did you wear one silver glove? And he was shy, and then he would start and talk. So the 10G, and it's similar to that in a way, but it was always me looking ahead, and I knew when we were on 4G and 3G and 5G, I know at some point I want to be ahead of everybody. Wow. So I want to be seeing things ahead.
That's outstanding. Outstanding. I thank you so much for honoring me by coming on Lifestyle Mastery. And for everyone that is going to be listening, I hope you have pen to paper and look at this again and take copious notes, because this is life-changing. Until next week, I thank you. Again, my name is Dr. Sheila Smith, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Lifestyle Mastery with Dr. Sheila Smith. We hope that the insights, tips, and tools shared in this episode have inspired and empowered you to take control of your personal and professional life. Remember, personal development and entrepreneurship are a journey, and we're here to support you every step of the way. Keep applying the strategies and techniques you've learned, and never stop striving for your dreams. We'd love to hear from you. Please share your feedback and success stories on our website or social media platforms. And don't forget to subscribe to Lifestyle Mastery for even more expert insights and inspiration. Thanks again for being a part of our community. We look forward to continuing this journey of growth and success with you. And we'll see you again on our next episode.